it's just the, you know, I understand. You're not gonna be here unless you. Sure. Protest. Oh, okay. I know.
Really? Yeah. Which is. Okay.
He has no problems, that's why I would fight for that.
Primarily.
We don't think it's good, has one exception.
Would that be exciting?
Okay.
I agree.
Anywhere from 50 to 400.
That's unfortunate.
Animal health companies.
It's an ice there.
Oh, very. That one.
I do see they put slide down on that thing.
They send somebody else.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What's the, excuse me.
They've been around because they're a big. Yeah, still family, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I assume that. But it's all, I mean, they're. So like. Or 15. This is, seems. US. Headquarters for the US Highway. Oh, okay.
This and that's the prevailing. Well, I am. Have you looked at this one, you guys? You too. So, yeah. Good. I'm sure the banks, we won't get the check. They need to get that out of it. I'm glad they did, because that's just definitely really nice. Well, that's good, and I'm glad for their purpose that they got this one. I don't know what the difference. Shipping company in the market for 5 years. Maybe the guys that don't get a lot of. Yeah, exactly. So they're gonna have that to make them worried about. If it's been on the market, so I think it's, I'll give you another one. You can say give it on the market maybe 4 or 5 days, I think. Yes. Yeah, so. And that's usually the sign that they're doing. Yeah. So we're gonna have a huge crowd again tonight. It's just gonna.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there was a lot of conspiracy out there, you know, whether that was taken down on purpose. I heard a lot of that from the surrounds down. No, I know, but it just, it happened to be a very contentious meeting with a lot of things. It's a happened to go down.
Yeah, but then with the fence already there. Yeah, because it's not a.
Oh, that's been great. Well, what's wrong with it?
Take off the top.
Yeah. Which might make it work, but then again, it might not.
You know, this whole system.
Well, the guys is here today, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, you're right.
Like this.
That being.
So we always have a backup.
But there's no, the top, I don't know. Are you related to Wayne? I'm from the last one. Yeah, they just run across them in the scuba diving class, she's. Well, she would have graduated, she's like that. On 79, 80 somewhere. So we'll take it all.
Okay, so yeah, once you can write, that's.
Yeah, she originally was from Brighton area.
Yes.
But I don't know that. Yeah, I don't either, because I know Kurt and Dan wrote their farm. And then I know John and Zach. And I would have talked to your family. In class, my father's passed away, she came to the, our friend did about this. You're one of your aunts, I gotta think what her name is. Like, yeah, she's doing four first things.
That's not a place to remember names.
Well, and you know, a lot of these people I haven't seen in 20 years, and that just makes things work. But anyway, I went to, I did, Pam and her daughter. Oh, she. Yeah. So generally, there's fun, you know, they belong to it. Yeah. So I was just. Because I used to. Yeah, I used to do some concrete on weekends. Well, this would have been great. Anyway, I was just curious.
It's uninteresting.
I'm collecting, as I know we call it a collecting.
I don't think that'd be tough. Yeah. But.
Did you?
I would, well. You may though.
What happened to you?
Oh, wait. Yeah, I mean, he's partner. Like. Nice ass.
Sorry. How long you booted?
Just kind of, so I have. Gotta go to the work.
Yeah.
I'm so trusting.
So sit around. You guys did well.
Sorry.
Ask Jeff.
Yeah.
Do much art about it. Bills are bills. Treasurer's reports. Why we starting with, I don't think I did have any. Yes.
And so that was the Boston.
Yes.
This.
Actually, hold on. It's on. No, that's about the agenda. I was saying this. Yeah, and how they come back around. How this. Yeah. This one.
Yeah, his name's not on this.
Two different aspects.
Yes, the funds are possible. It was being sorry about.
Oh, really? So. He's motor.
Yeah.
They ran in the school.
I'll send you. It's supposed to. Yeah.
Good evening, and the time is 6 p.m. I will call to order the August 26th meeting of the Huxley City Council. We are streaming again live on YouTube. I apologize for the technical difficulties a couple weeks ago. With that, I would ask for a roll call, please.
Murphy,
Here.
Mulder,
Here.
Rigler,
Here.
Etcher,
Here.
Roberts. Here.
Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I give a motion.
Motion Mulder,
I'll second it.
second Mr. Murphy. Any discussion? All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Excuse me, now as the time in the agenda for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on any agenda items or non-agenda items this evening is certainly welcome to. If you're here to discuss a work session item, you'll have that opportunity during the work session. But if you want to talk about an agenda item or anything else, now is your opportunity. Just ask that you limit your time to 5 minutes and start with an introduction. Is there anybody this evening wanting to be heard? Please, sir. Please. Just ask that you start with your name and address, please.
Patrick O'Connor, 511 North Second Avenue, Huxley, Iowa. Recently, we were sent a letter concerning about the cul-de-sac in the North Second Avenue, which is where I live and have since '99. We appreciate the letter that was dropped in our mailbox or by the door. It's kind of a survey. Are you familiar with it? It had some questions about safety, snow removal, aesthetics, maintenance. Familiar with that? Anyway, it was given to us, asking about the community's input about safety. The cul-de-sac may or may not be replaced. I'll just tell you right now, I'm in favor of removing it, even though I'm going to tell you the rest of the story about that cul-de-sac. The safety and accessibility of that is the safest place in the block. It's taught many kids how to ride bikes around with their siblings chasing them. It's the green space in the block. All the kids know when a car comes, they head for the green grass. It's been home-based in many games. It's been the extension of many front windows, of kitchens and front rooms for kids to watch, for kids to play and parents to watch. It's safety as well as it's the largest speed bump you'll ever find. It does reduce the speed as far as kids trying to go around the corner quick. You can't do it. Snow removal, I agree. It's a pain. I'm sure that the drivers would probably rather not see it there, and it's not in the best shape as far as curb. Aesthetics, back in the early 2000s, the neighborhood purchased a flagpole from Mark Pote, former police chief here in town. It's the host to a 3x5 American flag. Every year, I change the flag every spring and fall, so it always looks nice. And aesthetic wise, I can't think of a better aesthetic value than seeing the American flag as you leave or come home from work. Maintenance, city hasn't spent a dime in maintenance since 1999 because I've mowed it. I've trimmed it. I have thousands of miles of trim on that block and going around in circles. I've the weed and feeded it. I don't remember the city. If they have, I just didn't see them do it, but I've mowed it ever since. And I'm fine giving it up. The cul-de-sac is a nice green space for our neighborhood, and it's always looked nice. But I do agree that it can go. The one ask that I have, and it's just coming from me, is that the flagpole be removed and then placed at the splash pad, if at all possible. It's a great flag pole. I hate to see it just go to waste.
Perfect.
Also, I'd like to know about the curb and street, if anybody can comment on that. On putting sidewalks in the North Second Avenue cul-de-sac. Yes, thank you.
Perfect. I appreciate your comments this evening, sir.
I would just note for council that this is the project that we went out to ISG. They're the ones that are developing the project. It's replacing water mains or some old water main in those blocks. There's some sewer manhole repair, and then they were going to do a mill and overlay. And I know Jeff, the letter that this gentleman's alluding to, Jeff had sent a letter out to all the homeowners just to try to get their feel if they wanted to keep the flagpole there in the center or take it out. And I think ISG's still in the design phase, from what I know, Matt, correct? And this also we've asked them, Tracy had brought up about tying in sidewalk along Fourth, so we had them kind of include that, and then there was one little stretch, Second Main, that needed to be tied in, so we've asked them to kind of look to see what the price is to tie all that together, but we have not got the design back or a cost estimate yet, so.
It's the references. Same school.
I appreciate your comments this evening, sir. Is there anybody else wishing to be heard this evening? Seeing no one rise, we'll move along. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I give you a motion.
Motion Mulder,
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Murphy. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mulder,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Murphy,
Yes.
Okay, look for a motion to approve resolution 25082. It's a resolution providing for the giving of notice and hearing of the city council of the city of Huxley regarding annexation of land owned by the Iowa DOT as part of the previously approved Brendelin and Clark annexation. In motion,
I'll give you a motion.
motion, Mr. Murphy.
Second.
Second, Mr. Etcher. This is the former Roberts property, I believe.
That is correct. When you passed the annexation for the Brennan and Clark property, we submitted all the required documents to the City Development Board. We got a nice letter on Monday and a phone call that said everything looked good. And then on Tuesday, it's like, oh, we have an issue. The DOT property, which we were told was public property, not to worry about it. Needed to be included, needed to have a legal, but also had to send notice to the Attorney General since it was state property. So we're going through the whole process for this piece, just like we did the other two. We will not get City Development Board on the September meeting, but the hope is to hit the October meeting. I think we sent our notices out for the consultation meeting. The certified letters went out to the county, the city of Cambridge, the DOT, the Attorney General, all the utilities. CERPA got their certified letters were sent last Friday, along with the request maps. And since the DOT doesn't actually make an application, I wrote a letter with information that Jessica Drake from the City Development Board suggested be in that letter. That was all sent out. We'll have a consultation hearing this Friday, or consultation meeting. It's not a hearing. Friday, if anybody shows up. We're asking you to set the public hearing for the 23rd of September. We plan on publishing the notice of the hearing by September 5th. All of the documents, with the exception of the signed resolution on the annexation, will be provided to the City Development Board prior to that, so we could, like I said, hopefully make the October meeting. But
Appreciate that information. Any further questions or discussions on this? Hearing none, I'd ask for roll call, please.
Murphy,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Rigler,
yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes.
Thank you. Moving along, looking for a motion to approve resolution 25083. It's a resolution approving bond purchase agreement for the sale of Geo Urban Renewal Bonds, Series 2025A. Need a motion.
I'll offer a motion.
Motion, Mr. Rigler.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mulder. Mr. Schultz.
All right, good evening, folks. Chip Schultz with Northland. I'm pleased to report the city, we held a preliminary order period this morning, subject to the council action at tonight's meeting. The feedback we got from the bond market, the city is going to be able to issue the public works debt at an average yield of 2.66%. That compares favorably to the 3.13% that we talked about at the August 12th meeting, I believe it was. Really good reception in the bond market. The city ended up being helped. One thing that changed since August 12th, we found out the rating for the city's Moody's AA3. And the memo that's in the handout, you'll see that's one notch higher than the Standard & Poor's A+ rating that was on the 2022 general obligation bonds for the water plant project. And if I may, can I briefly go through a couple of the items that are in the handout if
Please.
that's workable? Behind the first tab, if you would please, the exhibit numbers are at the top right of each respective page. Exhibit 1 breaks out the funding provided for project cost totaled at the bottom of the page, and then it's broken out by the portion paid by tax increment dollars and the portion paid by the city's $3.58 debt levy. That's kind of a re-depiction of the material that you got from your architect. So bottom line, overall funding provided is $5,352,000 at the bottom right of the page. That's kind of the key number on that page. The following page, Exhibit 2, is we talked about this earlier this year, and then again in August 12, shows a stable future city debt levy of $3.58 per thousand in column G. Stable and declining TIF revenues in column I. This includes the debt service for the Public Works building in column N. And then there's some historical valuation data at the bottom of the page. The following page, Exhibit 3, that graph shows the total debt service payments on existing debt in the gray shading. The new Public Works building debt is in the medium blue color tone for the Public Works building. You can see all future years are either stable or slightly below the historic annual debt service. So that's a positive for sure. Following page, Exhibit 4, breaks out the payments on general obligation debt through 2032 is when the final maturity is on the 2022 debt for the water plant. Breaks out the portions paid by the $3.58 debt levy in the gray shading and the tax increment portion in the blue. And then the following page shows the favorable interest rate environment change that we've seen principally in the last 3 months. So the municipal market data index is a bond index tracked by participants in the municipal bond market. If we look at the two columns to the right, yesterday's index versus really just 6 weeks ago in mid-July, we're down about 0.25% to almost 0.3 or 30 basis points throughout the index. That's been triggered a lot since there's thoughts that the Federal Reserve might start to cut overnight lending rates. That's helped the city in that regard as well. And then if we look compared to in column J on Exhibit 5, compared to 3 months ago, we're about 65 basis points or 0.65% lower in rates throughout the 5-year maturity structure on the debt. So really good reception in the bond market. I couldn't be more pleased. I think the city's really got a positive result for what ends up being a very cost-efficient financing. So glad to answer questions with that. But
Chip, I just want to thank you and Northland for your work on this. And as always, your information is very clear and very professional. So I do appreciate that.
glad to do it. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I do have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Rigler,
Yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Murphy,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Moving along, need a motion to approve resolution number 25084. It's a resolution approving the construction contract and bond for the Huxley Public Works Facility Project.
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Etcher.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mulder. Anything to talk about here, Dave?
Just state that you had the bid tab at your last council meeting and awarded the contract. The contracts have been signed, approved. Aaron looked at the contract prior to it being signed. And the bonds have come in and those have been checked and everything's a go. So we will have a pre-construction meeting this Thursday afternoon, I believe, to start the process of getting this project going.
Thank you very much. I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Etcher,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Murphy,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Our final business item this evening, need a motion to approve resolution 25085. It's a resolution approving the 2026 CIP purchase of a 3/4 ton pickup with a plow for public works.
I give a motion.
Motion, Mr. Mulder.
Second.
Second, Mr. Rigler. Was information about this in your packet? Page 70-ish.
Be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Would just note that most of the bids that Matt received were just for the truck. The one that he found came with the plow. The plows normally run about 10 to 12,000. I think the bids ranged from, if memory serves me correctly, from about 47.6 to 52.6, other than the one that was the 53.905 that had the plow included. So I think Matt felt that was a good buy, and the truck's only got 700 miles on it, so there's still a lot of good to it.
Any additional questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mulder,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Roberts, yes, Murphy,
Yes.
Okay, department reports were included in your packet. Ms. Van Monens was included in paper form on our desk this evening. Are there any additional reports from staff this evening?
Matt Kaler, Street Superintendent. The overhead lights on 69 and Oak, and on First have turned blue. That's due to a defect in the product. They are getting warranted, and those two intersections will be changed out by the end of the week. And hopefully they're gonna go ahead and warranty the other 4 since they were all purchased the 12 of them were purchased at the same time. So if you guys see anybody that's got any questions about any of that it's getting handled, but. Yeah, well, yeah. That's pretty much all we got. They're gonna be starting the Oak Lift Station project this week, so. I think that is involved with it.
Appreciate that, Matt. Nothing for you folks. Aaron? Okay, Barb.
just a reminder that election papers are ready and can be turned in at any time. The deadline to turn them in is September 18th at 5 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Dave.
I don't have anything else this evening.
Okay, Mr. Murphy.
I would like to take a minute and just request that we have a work session on policies and processes with oversight of developments. I feel that the whole process on just this latest one on Westview 4, citizens had a lot of complaints or concerns, maybe I'd say. With that, I know for myself, I was told at a council meeting that was not time to bring up my concerns. That there was a time later, but however, later never came. So we put it off till later, but we didn't have a meeting later to discuss concerns. I could also say that the concerns that citizens did have seemed to be poo-pooed at the end and overlooked. And I'm just concerned that with our policies and procedures that we do not have things in place to, in essence, protect citizens. I was really shocked and appalled to hear that we were approving something without putting eyes on it. And to me, that's just shocking that you wouldn't go out and walk the property and visually look at it as one signing off on it before you sign off. So I'd just like to see what policies and procedures we have. Is there things that we need to tweak within them policies and procedures and just ensure and more or less for the citizens to know that what we are doing is a thorough process. So that's just my request, if we could add that to a future work session.
Okay, appreciate those comments, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Mulder.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, Mr. Rigler.
For those of you who haven't seen the splash pad, I don't see Heather out there, but it's been awesome going by and seeing the amount of kids use it. I know there were questions about that versus something else, but that's been exciting. I think to Councilman Murphy's point, I went out and walked that, and I know Forrest isn't here tonight, but I was hoping he could provide some clarity on, what are the specifications for whether it's grade, or at one point we talked about just people being able to mow it, and there continue to be some disgruntled people whose yards are adjacent to that and walking it. I wouldn't have in good conscience said, yes, this is something that I would expect a homeowner to be able to maintain for the easement back there. I'm not saying that I know that because I'm not an engineer, but maybe if he could provide, what the specs were, what instruments are used to measure that grade or something, it could provide confidence to people in our process.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rigler. Mr. Etcher.
Nothing.
And finally, Ms. Roberts.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm happy to do a work session on it. Just for clarification, like after we left that meeting that night, I did have some emails that came in just right before the meeting, so I hadn't read them prior to attending here, but I definitely think it needs looked at. At one point, we also talked about, and I don't know that this ever went anywhere, the grades, right? Like it has to be level to the neighbor's house, and everybody kept building up for a while, and then the lowest man would get it. I don't know that we ever resolved that either, so.
I don't know if we have either, because there is grade there that 1 yard is 6 to 8 foot higher than the next, and.
We should have
Might a little bit of
something,
Falling too. I wouldn't want that in my backyard.
right? It's all coming to your yard, so. Yeah, I'm happy to have a work session about it. Thanks. And yeah, I love the splash pad. I've actually been up there with my granddaughter and it was fun.
Great to hear. So in accordance with my kind of standard policy, I do have 2 council members wishing to have that brought forward to a work session. So I would ask staff to do that in the coming sessions, coming meetings. So I'm sure it'll take a little bit to get together. So with that, that concludes our regular business for this evening. We do have a work session this evening with 2 items on it. The first is Matt with Flight Bar and Grill discussing signage. Matt, do you want to kick that off? Thanks.
Is that right? All right.
One sheet. Try to keep it easy. Yeah. Less wordy. Included pictures too. So yeah. It's back to school, so figured it'd be easy for everybody. As Mayor said, I'm Matt with Flight Bar and Grill. Just wanted to thank the city for their involvement with the August 9th Heart of Iowa Nature Trail ribbon cutting. Mayor, you were there and rode, and Dave was there as well with support of the city. So really good turnout. The weather did not turn out. I think, you know, we had probably 100 riders there. I think it would have been probably 4 times that had the weather been good. Flight and Fabled, both were there in support. We had a table with merchandise, things like that out for people to grab. We had water bottles, nutrition bars, things like that. So I think the city represented itself well, and I'm proud that we were a part of that. I rode. I'm a big rider. I do RAGBRAI every year. Big fan of the trail, and I don't think I've really hid that in the way we run our business too, in trying to market on that trail. After the ride, I went back to work, which is not a surprise, on a Saturday, and met with a lot of the riders that I saw on the trail and saw on the ride. And I would say 98% of them didn't know we were so close to the trail. A lot of them left with merchandise, said they'd be back, and all of them, you know, in a bad way, took a different route to get to our businesses. And so I think it's time for us to revisit maybe how we market our businesses on the trail. And I'm not saying we need solutions tonight, but just an open discussion and you guys being open to propositions for it. Big thing for us is getting to riders and communicating with riders before they're past the point of turning around, because they just won't. If you've ridden a bike for any long amount of time, you're not putting on miles you don't need to. So, you know, in the past, Flights made an attempt to do this, and I just want to do it the right way this time and make sure that you guys are all on board and it's a unanimous deal. But I do think there's a huge opportunity for the city, you know, through communication and involvement with that trail. I think it's a huge opportunity for our city. So yeah, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but if not, yeah, put it back in your court, and I'd love to make a proposition down the road and actually start a timeline on this.
Matt, included in our packet was a picture. Was that the sign that was taken down years ago?
Yes.
Yeah, it must have been, because it was double dip, so it wouldn't have been AI of some sort.
I know, yeah. Double dipped
Okay.
and fence line on there. No, I'm
Yeah.
not that good with AI.
Okay.
But yeah, 2 of those businesses, yeah, are not in their current or in the hands of their, you know, former owners now. So
Sure.
I still have the sign in my garage. If we want, we can put tape over it, but I'd like to get a more professional looking sign up. But yes, yeah, we've made an attempt at that before, and I think it's would be worth our time to revisit it.
So the issue with that, I'm sure Matt knows this, but for council's benefit was Huxley's zoning ordinance prohibits off-premise signage. So, you know, any business in town, you can put a sign in your front yard, so to speak, but you can't go put it in somebody else's front yard. So that was the issue that was run into years ago regarding this sign, and kind of or we're back to. In my mind, there's certainly a differential between wayfinding and advertising. To me, this is a wayfinding type of sign that you've demonstrated in the packet. So maybe there's an opportunity to carve something out for that. I agree with you wholeheartedly that it benefits the community to bring those riders into our town to patronize our businesses. I think we've got an obligation to make sure that any businesses that want to participate have the opportunity to, and maybe, I'm sure there's a cost, and maybe that gets spread amongst those businesses that want to participate in that. But as long as everybody gets an opportunity and it's used for wayfinding purposes, I would fully support it. So I appreciate you bringing that forward, and look forward to hearing from council on their comments on this.
I would also ask that you visit kind of what other cities are doing along the Heart of Iowa Trail. And that's why I included those two examples on there. You know, other cities are doing the exact same thing. And so then how do we kind of mirror what they're doing? It's obviously working for them. So maybe that's something that we could look at.
So if you look at it, the DOT down the interstate does the same thing. I mean.
And we pay for a sign on the interstate as
yeah,
well.
okay.
We do. It's down right now, and
So
yeah, that one's not in my garage, but that one got taken down as well. But it'll go back up as soon as we get that bridge open.
yeah, and the other thing I think is that we need to look at our ordinances with our signage, because I think our signage ordinances are over strict, and maybe outdated. So maybe that's something we should be looking at too. But again, I'm thinking the same thing you are, Mayor, is that this is just pointing out to a direction of where a business is. So.
And I don't want to open a can of worms of every single business listed out on this thing. And so it's ones that are relevant to the riders, would be what I'm seeking. And it's an open door if there's others that, you know, want to be on it. Maybe that's for your guys' approval.
Yeah, certainly food and beverage are the obvious ones. You know, the hardware store, maybe they sell bike inner tubes. I don't know. That might be helpful to a bike rider. I know I've seen folks from in front of the hardware store changing tires, and I don't know if they got those from the hardware store or not. But yeah, certainly not every business is going to be relevant to a bike rider, but I think that would work itself out. So.
Yeah, I'm fully supportive of wayfinding signs to get there. Yeah. If we need to adjust our codes, let's do what we need to do. I like supporting our local businesses, so let's get people there. Thank you.
My aspect, I really, out being on the trail, I do like the signs. A lot of the towns have similar signs. I'd like to sort of keep that look though, so it fits in with the whole trail. I mean, if you got, you know, so we're not putting a sign there that just looks completely awkward compared to everybody else. I'm all in favor. I think anything we can do to point business to our businesses is in the benefit of everybody in town. So I'd be in favor of looking at that.
And as staff, we talked a little bit about just getting wayfinding sign just for our parks, for the 3 Cs, splash pad, those things, to just get some direction as well. I've been in a lot of communities that have wayfinding signs to City Hall, PD, parks. You know, if you have a pool, we got the splash pad. So we kind of thought that this would work kind of well as kind of a wayfinding, you know, doing some wayfinding signs that would do our stuff, but then also find something that would fit for the trail to get riders to those businesses that would be able to serve those riders as they come through town.
Yeah, I'm also in favor. I do like the idea. I hadn't thought of it when I was looking at these different samples, but knowing that the intention is to make that a full national trail that connects, if there was some level of consistency or communication for adjacent towns, like it'd look nice if it was a uniform. That'd be cool. I hadn't thought about like directing to the splash pad or parks, but I love that idea too. So.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate that, Matt.
Yeah.
Dave, clearly there's broad support for this concept. Is this something that needs to start at zoning, planning and zoning? Because it conflicts with our zoning ordinance? What's your recommendation here?
Yeah, I think it's within your zoning code, so I know we'll go through, I think, zone first.
Appreciate that, Aaron. Dave, if you could see that that process gets started, and we'll make that happen. All right, moving along this evening, we have one additional work session item. And that's a request from Huxley Heights Development regarding the roundabout. Of course, this is 560th and East First Street is where we're talking about, so.
I would just remind, so Huxley Heights, it's the D.R. Horton development. They met with planning and zoning, I believe it was in February. Maybe came to city council a month or two later, and there was some discussion about paving 560th, paving a roundabout was kind of the long-term goal there at 560th and First. As we've kind of got going, as they're getting their pieces together, they're getting close to starting the rezoning process and the annexation process. They had sent some cost estimates, wondered what assistance there might be from the city. And I'd kind of threw out some numbers. And I received a call from Anastasia, who presented to the council and to P&Z earlier this year. And you've got the request. I just kind of put that in the packet. They kind of wanted to hold off on the development of the roundabout until such time as maybe it was a little more necessary. They felt like there were other parties should be paying a portion of that roundabout. So I reached out to Forrest. It was kind of last minute. Then we talked this afternoon. He said, if he was just kind of shooting from his hip, he threw out like 30%. He looked at the four corners there, and Kaufman's really don't have any ground for development. So they're kind of out of the pitch. So it kind of leaves the northeast, northwest, and the southeast corners of that intersection. And Forrest said, if I was just taking, just a ballpark run, 30, 30, 30, and maybe the city does 10. What we talked about after that was that he's going to do a mini traffic study over the next 2 weeks and come down and see if that 30, 30, 30 really makes sense, or if there's some other number that really needs to be there. I know they wanted to have a development agreement to pay for it at a later date. And I discussed that with Aaron a little bit on a couple of occasions. And, my concern with the development agreement is great, but once you're built out, D.R. Horton's gone. So if in my mind, the idea was if we did a development agreement, if you got down to so many lots that you had left to build, you would have to put money in escrow for your share of that roundabout. That was just one concept that I threw out to Erin, and she said that was something that we could possibly do. So I don't know if you want to take this too far tonight, or if you want to wait to see what Forrest comes up with in a couple of weeks. I'll kind of leave that to you, but this just kind of came up real quick from them as they were getting ready to get started. So
I would just throw out for my concern, I'm worried because we're adding how many houses there?
178.
170 some houses there. So you're adding another 170 cars, upwards of 240, 250 cars coming out of there, because most are most families have 2 cars. And that's already a bear of an intersection at times. There's a lot of traffic that goes through there. Now with the opening of the bridge there of 210, when they get the interstate back open, I think that's going to make that more of a freeway going through, especially with the debacles going on 69. Maybe it is time that we need to look at doing something with traffic control at that intersection instead of kicking the can down the road. And so that would be my concern, just looking at what's coming and what's there already.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree with Murphy. We're adding 179 houses times 2. Yeah, you're 300 and some vehicles in there. I don't want to wait till it's built out to make the improvements. And then if you were to escrow a certain part of it, you know, seems like cost escalation changes every year. Is that 5 years from now? Is that 10 years from now? Is it 150 houses built? Is it 50 houses built? Who knows? The traffic demand there is probably gonna be significantly higher when you get those houses in there, so I think we need to do it.
That's why I think that traffic study, just taking a look at, the average trips they can kind of go through, or plus what's already there, it should give us a better idea of what we could expect.
It might be a little skewed right now with bridge being done on 210.
Your main traffic's gonna be in the morning, afternoon with school traffic, right? During the summer, there's not much traffic through there except at that corner.
Right.
Everybody's going from here to 560 and to 210. Anybody that's in the Sanitary, the west or the Prairie View area, all that goes there. We've already had since spring, we've had probably 4 accidents out there. Since we paved 560th, we've probably had close to probably 8 accidents at that corner. Just because of the angle of it and also with the amount of traffic. I kind of had discussion with Dave about, what if we did a turning lane for temporary type thing? But I think with the angle of the curve and 560th heading north, if you add a car turning, you're not gonna see the car that's not turning, that type of thing, and it's gonna make it a more dangerous corner. So I think if there's anything that's gonna happen with it, I think we do the roundabout and we do it sooner than later. Not that I want a roundabout.
So you're on the record for wanting a roundabout. Gotcha. No, I rarely agree with Murphy all the time, but tonight, yeah, I think so too. I think sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I had actually contacted Dave about this because I went back and found the preliminary discussion for the work session. What was that, February, March? I don't think it's relevant at all, the undeveloped acres around them. I thought that the roundabout was being proposed for the additional traffic that they were bringing in with their development, so I think it needs done if this development's done, I guess regardless of what potential development happens around them, which is how I read this, is them wanting just to pay a share. I think it will need done when we add the amount of cars that they're talking about potentially adding here, so.
I'm the same as Tracy. I don't agree with John most of the time, but I'm there now.
John, you must have had some words of wisdom tonight, so.
Bad enough, bad enough.
The only thing I would add here, traffic study, information's good. So, the traffic study might provide some additional information. I guess that would be interesting to know how many current trips traverse through that intersection currently. I imagine it's thousands on a daily basis, several hundred at least. As was noted by somebody, it's probably not the ideal time, especially with the 1-lane road on 69. I know more people are taking the 560th route just to avoid that altogether. So it might not be ideal, plus the 210 bridge being out. I guess my point being, if there's 1,000 trips, let's say, currently going through there on a daily basis, and these folks are gonna add 240, was the guy that's contributing 240 responsible for 100% of the cost of that? That's ultimately the ask here is, yes, they're exacerbating the situation. They're making it worse. They're adding to it. Are they fully responsible for the cost of that? So I guess I think what staff is looking for here is some direction on that question.
I think we should look at any options we can. Like, just help me with the gardener. Is that all because of DOT? Like, did we help him with that cost? Again, with the consistency, so.
Well, and I guess the way I read it, Mayor, was they were asking the city, but they were also asking the landowners adjacent. Like, I guess I was expecting the city would contribute some piece to it, but I think to ask undeveloped adjacent pieces is where, to me, that seems unusual.
So it's probably. It's a lot. And again. I'm sorry, so that number roughly showed 3,000 trips per day. Using the councilman's math, maybe this adds, let's say 600. Everybody comes and goes once and it's two cars. I don't know, 800. So it's certainly an increase. There's no question about that. Yeah, I don't know where that leaves us. Is the ask, Dave, as Mr. Rigler alluded to, that we'd be asking the adjacent property owners to contribute at this time, or what's that look like?
I don't believe so. I think what they were looking for, I think they viewed more of the development should have been spread to the property to the west.
Yes.
More so west of their property, which would be the Quick property. Looking at, that there was about 105 acres yet there with X number of homes is kind of what they were looking at. Their acreage versus that is kind of where they started. They really weren't looking at the northeast or the southeast part of that or the Coffins at that point. It was just more to the west.
Okay, so what's council's pleasure here? We can certainly gather some additional information. We can have our city engineer conduct kind of a mini traffic study, as it's been referenced as. If you've got some direction, a consensus tonight, we can direct staff a different direction as well, so.
I just asked to look at what sources can we use for funding, who all can be part of the game. Is the county involved at all there? No? Okay, it's just city and,
I mean, at this time, yes, it is county. So,
560.
560 will still be, I'm sorry. Yeah.
kind of the portion that's gonna be.
Only that property, the rest of everything around except Kaufman's and this piece, so about half of that's already, in city limits. On the east side.
The county's not.
They are today, but it's.
Yeah.
Annex it.
What chance is there, I think.
okay.
Well, they aren't gonna do anything before we annex it. We're not names.
Well, I think we all know too that the property west is not gonna come in to City of Huxley unless we fold on the other situation, so, yeah, so. That'd be county for some time.
Yeah, I just don't see how we're gonna assess people for something they may do in the future or may not do in the future. That seems a little bit odd. So with that, if they're not doing anything, yeah, they might get a benefit down the road, but how do you figure that in?
Does the city have a tool to front that cost and then proportionately assess that to those in the future when it does get developed?
We haven't done that on other developments that.
No.
We can look into it. I don't know that there's a means to do that because in order to do the assessment, there's all of the procedural steps up front. The notices and the public hearing, you have to know who you're going to assess it to, or at least what property you're going to assess it to. So I think there would be a struggle in achieving that. Yeah, I do too.
It seems like maybe that gets done with water and sewer, and maybe that's kind of a different mechanism altogether.
Sewer district, and so you identify them by parcel alone, just don't know that it's there for infrastructure like this. We can look at it.
Dave, what's your recommendation here on moving forward?
I would like to just have Forrest go ahead and do this traffic study, have him a little more time to look at it, and then really decide, we'll share the discussion tonight. I'll ask him to kind of watch this discussion and listen to the council comments and see if we can come up with, what really is their share. And then if we feel like it needs to be built, we'll see how we maybe fund our portion of it at this point.
All right, I appreciate the information, appreciate all the conversation. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn this evening.
I'll give you a motion.
Motion, Mr. Mulder.
Second.
Second, Ms. Roberts. All those in favor, please respond to the aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for attending this evening. Thank you for those watching on YouTube as well. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 9th at 6 p.m. Have a good night.